Right guys, we are back with another vlog. So this is going to be a little update, and as ever, a little bit of bullshit from me at the end. So to update you all, this morning was 337 pounds. So I pretty much averaged between 336.5 to 337.5 all week. I can't remember off the top of my head what I was last update video. I've got a feeling it was around the 334 mark. So to put things into perspective, the end of last push was 332 peak body weight, so we're 5 pounds up. The past week hasn't been, it's been the worst, this push. Last week I got ill, had to take a couple of days off training, then came back to training, second session back, really strained my left rotator cuff. So I did a push, or attempted push session on Thursday this week, and I couldn't do a lot with it. Now I've seen my physio, and we've spoken. He's a really kind of sound, down to earth person, so there's no danger to it, but it's still in the acute phase where pain is quite high, it's quite nervy, so we just need to let that die down without aggravating it. Today was a fantastic session, legs and pull, all good. I'm just going to need to manage my push session for the time being, but again, that's part and parcel of it. But I think where my head's at with getting ill and suffering a tweak, they're not things to be taken lightly and ignored. And if I'm honest, I think I'm week 16 of this push anyway. I like to run pushes from 16 to 20 weeks. I think the fact that my body is doing this to me probably is a sign that continuing to push as I am may not be the best idea. Now, I'm going to use the rest of this weekend to sit down, look at my plans properly, and see if it's time to run a cruise before then, one more push before prep, or if I think I can maybe squeeze a couple of more weeks out. But I'm also in a very busy period of work, so I think all things considered, this is probably the organic end to this push, which is all good by me. Now, one thing moving forwards that I'm going to do differently to last time is the end of last push, I did a fairly aggressive kind of recomp. Dropped from 332 to 310 before the start of this push. And while I look great, if I don't say so myself, I don't think it was needed. Like, I'm full, I'm bloated, I'm not fat right now. So my aim is naturally body weight will come down. I'd like to hold between 325 and 330. And the rationale behind that is, if I can hold that body weight and become more comfortable there, it's enough of a drop to feel a little bit better, but not too much of a drop that when I push up, hitting those higher end body weights is going to be, you know, today's session, like one of the biggest factors was breathing. So it just hopefully going to mitigate that middle ground. So again, you know, even 12 years into this, I'm still experimenting, I'm still learning. And yeah, there we are. Like, I don't think calories have changed too much. Training days just shy of 6,000, non-training days around about 4.5. Still, you know, clean meals, one off-plan meal a week if I want it. Cardio 20 minutes 6 times a week, training 4 times a week. You know, it's very much standard stuff. You know, anyone who's done bodybuilding for a period of time, these are just what we do. It's the boxes we tick without really thinking, kind of autopilot. So that's the summary. Now, the topic I want to talk about today is something I've never talked about before, and it's mental health. And the reason I want to talk about it now is because I would say the past 2 weeks I have really not felt myself. I felt quite low. Now, I've always been skeptical about talking about mental health for 2 reasons. One, I feel sometimes, especially on social media, it can sometimes come across as like a kind of cry for help or sympathy. And realistically, social media isn't the place for that. Like, if you need help, speak to those closest to you, which I have done. You know, my girlfriend, my mum are my main sounding boards and my support network. So that's kind of the first reason I don't like to openly talk about it, because I also don't really want sympathy. I don't get anything from that. The second thing is, whenever I see people talk about mental health, they always seem like so smart and intelligent with it, and like there's like a message behind it and a lesson to be learned. And quite frankly, I don't think there's anything I can really give you today outside of just an experience that I've had, and maybe like normalizing talking about it and expressing kind of where I've been at mentally. And as I said, it kind of last week especially, I didn't want to speak to anyone, not even my girlfriend, which is rare. I was very, very closed down. I couldn't see the positives in anything. I was questioning why I was doing so many things. I was trying to figure out what makes me happy, and realistically, when you're feeling down, that's the worst time to ask those questions. But the mind just goes into overdrive, and it was one of those where I'm not ungrateful. Like I was stepping back in those moments and thinking, Christ Almighty, like you've got an incredible partner, a healthy family, a roof over your head, a job that you love, clients that are fantastic. Like I have nothing to moan or gripe about or feel like this for. And then in a weird roundabout way, that then made me feel worse, because I was like, well, God, like who am I to even like think I have any issues? But again, I don't know where this is going, but I felt it important to say. Now, one thing I've learned from feeling like this in the past is these feelings do pass on their own, and sometimes there's nothing all you can do about it. You just have to kind of go through each day. And again, fortunately for me, I'm so ingrained in my routine that it takes a lot to knock me. So the ability to stick to that, I think, keeps me slightly more grounded than letting me kind of slip into a kind of real hole. But yeah, like all sorts was creeping into my mind. You know, there have been a number of pro shows in Europe lately. Obviously, they're the shows that I would like to do next year. I'm looking at those guys on stage, and I say this to my clients, and you know, this is one of those, I suppose, you know, do as I say, not as I do. But I was comparing myself to everyone and thinking, you know, Christ, am I going to make an embarrassment of myself on stage? Am I worthy? Am I good enough? You know, that real imposter syndrome and kind of, yeah, genuine anxiety about next year, which is ridiculous because I'm 52 weeks away, you know, from stepping on stage. It's very hard to compare. And as I've said from the start, you know, I worked 12 years for my pro card. I'm not expecting to be a top pro, but at the same time, I also don't want to be a kind of an embarrassment, and I suppose that's where an element of my mind was, as well as everywhere else. Yeah, so there we go. Just a kind of real honest thing. I've no words of wisdom. I've no lesson to teach you all outside of, you know, these things pass, and try and keep yourself in your routine and don't lose sense of everything that you're about. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to really add, but I'm feeling much better today, if anyone wonders. And honestly, like the being ill and the kind of injury certainly didn't help. I was feeling shit before that, but having had a couple of solid sessions this week helps. And I know that, you know, I've got friends who are doctors and they hate it when I say that the gym is my therapy, because, you know, there are genuine people out there who need therapy. But for me, the gym offers so much more than just the visual aesthetics, and, you know, it is that ability to sort of exercise demons and just find an element of release. So I'm extremely grateful for the ability to do that. And, you know, it sounds a bit extreme, but like, gym saves my life on a daily basis. It keeps me going, gives me purpose, and gives me a lot of pleasure in a roundabout way. So yeah, I hope that kind of maybe hits home and some people can relate. Like, let me know in the comments, and obviously as well, like, please, if you are struggling with your mental health, just speak to someone. Obviously, the closer to you, the better, I think, because they're going to have genuine compassion and care. But if not, I know there are helplines out there. And I know there are plenty of people who, you know, despite what you may think in your darkest moments, there are plenty of more people out there who care than who don't. So yeah, don't suffer alone. And that's where I'm going to leave this before I just continue to go round about in circles. But thank you very much for listening to that. Stay tuned for the next update, stay tuned for the next video, and all the good stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. Hugely appreciate everyone's support so far.